It was 2013 when I first saw a movie called One Step from the Grave. It was just released direct to DVD and didn't get much attention at all. Now, I wouldn't blame you if you haven't heard of it. It's the only reason why I know is because I searched up all these horror movies from the early 2010s trying to find something new to watch, and this came up. It sounded interesting, so I clicked on it, but man, it was one of the most boring horror movies that I had ever seen in my entire life. But then after I watched it, I read the description on the back of the DVD cover, and it said, based on the novel by Dean Koontz. And for those who don't know, Dean Koontz is one of my favorite authors, so I decided to read the book, and holy crap, what a difference. But that movie was absolutely horrible and butchered the story and characters. I will say, though, that I did enjoy the ending they came up with. But other than that, it's one of those cases where the book is great, but the movie sucks. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the book One Step from the Grave by Dean Koontz. Let's get into it. The story follows David Ashworth, who after his mother, Steph, leaves his job in San Francisco and returns to his hometown of Havenwood in Maine, which is where his mother grew up. He hasn't been back in 15 years, and while he was gone, the town was pretty much abandoned. It became a ghost town. While driving through, he sees a sign saying Population 14. When he gets out of his car, there's barely anyone around, and those who are outside look very suspicious. There's even a sign warning visitors to leave, or else they'll be shot on sight. He finds his mom's old house, which is now being used as a storage facility, and goes inside to see if anything is left behind. He does find some things, but is confronted by an old, overweight woman named Maggie. She says she owns the place now and accuses him of trespassing. Then, out of nowhere, two men burst through the door with guns. They also think that David is a trespasser and say that if he doesn't leave, they're going to shoot him. But before he can escape, one of them grabs him and pulls him outside to execute him. David is saved by a young woman named Claire Morgan, who lives across the street. She shoots both of the men and kills them, saving his life. She explains that this town isn't safe and warns him not to stay here. But David feels that something is calling him back to this town and wants to figure out what's going on. Claire decides to help him and they go to the diner to get something to eat. This is when we learn more about this town. Apparently everyone who comes here meets a horrible fate. People go missing, others are found dead. No one really knows what's going on. Even the police force in the nearby town doesn't want to come here. The people that do come here tend to get killed. As David and Claire are eating, they're being watched by this mysterious woman named Audrey. She works at the general store in town and seems to be a bit unhinged. Later on, David finds out that she has a twin sister named Vivian, who's been missing for a while now. Audrey believes that her sister was taken away by the entity that's haunting this town. We then meet Father Callahan, the priest who runs the church in town. He gives David the history of Havenwood. Back in 1936, a man named Jed Morgan built this town so he could live with his daughter Claire, who was born blind. He lived in a mansion on the outskirts of town, and one day he invited Father Callahan over for dinner. Jed was a scientist, and during their meeting, he revealed to the priest that he had created a machine that could pick up radio signals from other dimensions. He then brought out his invention and activated it, causing the world to implode. Their conversation caused the worlds to collapse, releasing evil forces that killed Jed and his daughter. Whoever, or whatever it was, it still remains trapped inside the house, and is somehow taking control over the minds of everyone in town. Callahan tells David that he must destroy the machine to stop whatever is going on. Meanwhile, Audrey continues to stalk David, wanting him to help her find her sister. Things start to get weird when he goes to his mom's house and finds her sitting there. He thinks he's finally losing his mind until he realizes that this is actually his mom, and she was unkilled like he thought. It turns out that when he was 5 years old, his dad left him and his mom. She was pregnant with his little brother, and soon after, she miscarried. His father was working with Jed Morgan, and somehow he was involved in that incident. Whatever happened in 1936, when David was 10, his mom found out that David knew more than he was letting on, and she killed him. She then buried his body in the basement of the house and pretended that he ran away. After being dead for 15 years, he begins to rise from the grave and seeks revenge on his mom. Meanwhile, Claire and Audrey are searching the house for clues. Audrey is getting more and more unhinged, and she attacks Claire, knocking her unconscious. She then tries to kill her, but is stopped by David. He had risen fully and was now alive. He doesn't really remember what happened, but he does remember killing his mom and drinks her blood. They decide that the best course of action would be to go to the house that Jed Morgan lived in and destroy the machine. They're attacked by a group of townspeople who want them dead. They make it to the house and David uses his powers to open up a portal and destroys the machine from within. After doing this, everyone in town is freed from whatever control this entity had over them. David is then forced to return to the other dimension with the portal, but promises to Claire that he'll be back. We then see him standing next to Jed Morgan and his daughter, who are very happy to have company. Now obviously, that's going to be different for everyone. But I really enjoyed this book. I love the mystery surrounding this town and whoever is haunting it. Also, I love how the book starts off with David not knowing anything about this place and slowly reveals everything to us as he learns about it. It's a great setup and keeps us just as clueless as him. And then once we find out that it's actually his mom all along, it's such a shock. And I know we've heard that before, that the villain is someone you wouldn't expect, but in this case, it really is a surprise. Plus, after all that build-up with the ghost town and everyone being afraid to go there, it's nice to see that it's not some random force of evil, but instead it's a human. Also, I feel like this book does a good job of showing how religion can sometimes be used as a tool for evil. You know, Father Callahan, he was supposed to be a man of God, yet he helped Jed Morgan perform whatever ritual he did. He knew that whatever he was helping him with was evil, yet he did nothing to stop him. I thought that was a great addition to the story. I will say the ending kind of left me unsatisfied. It's like, okay, David opens the portal and goes back into whatever dimension he came from, but like, what happens now? What happens to Claire? What happens to Havenwood? What happens to David? Like, I guess technically the story is over, but I wish we got some closure. I wish we saw how everyone dealt with what happened. For example, what happened to Audrey? Was she charged with anything? What about the townspeople who tried to kill David? Were they punished? I don't know. I just feel like there were so many questions left unanswered, and it felt a bit incomplete. But other than that, I thought this was a fun little horror story. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button and consider subscribing. If you have a free time and a good idea for a video, then comment it down below. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.